Okay.
15 years ago, would you marry Travis based off of his account, what he had? Most people answer would be no. Then you miss out on 41-year-old Travis. And I just think that needs to be said and heard too. You don't know the future. You just don't know. And, all of these, especially in 2025, all these, you got to be making 6 figures. Well, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't miss out on a lot. You really fumbled the bag based off of discounting something in seed form.
It wasn't even just the hope of what you could bring later. What you brought then was enough too.
Yeah.
In seed form, you are a lot to me. And I think that had everything to do with the belief you felt. Because a lot of times women can see that they're in seed form and they only are hoping for the blossom version. I wasn't hoping for the blossom version. I love the seed form too. I really want to take people out of the vain desire for so much possession. I want both to be
that's great. That's great.
seen well.
That's
if that
great.
makes sense.
No,
because
great.
you provided so much.
That's great.
I want everything he has for me. He has for me. Yeah. He's all I've got in me. Permission.
Hey family, we are back for another episode of Permission Talk, and it's so good to be back. For all my newbies, I'm Dr. Jackie. Thank you for joining us, and go back and check out all the other episodes. You will be blessed. For all of my day ones and the people that have been following for a while, I know that you're going to be really, really blessed by this episode that we have today, because I have a very, very special guest in a space that's all about embracing, equipping, and empowering women to walk in their godly freedom. I just felt like it was necessary to bring to the Permission Talk stage. My baby daddy, my best friend, my hubby is joining us today to have some conversation about all things family. We're gonna talk a little finances. We're just gonna dig into some stuff
Let go.
To help the different women that are watching me and watching learn to navigate and kind of talk about some of the things that have helped us make it to 14 years. Well, we'll be 14 in December.
2 months.
Almost
Yeah,
there.
we're
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. It's a great season. Boys are back in school doing their thing. Jake's middle school.
That 6th grade is crazy.
6th grade.
But he's loving it.
Yeah, he's doing good. Church is going well. Music's going well. Just marriage is great. Family's good. I can't complain. Health is good.
I like it. All things good. When you speak to good, when you think about marriage, think about us making it to 14 years, what would you say is the secret sauce? Like, what do you feel like has been our win if we had to give it to someone else?
I think communication, and this is what I tell young couples all the time. I don't think there's anything more important than being able to converse with your spouse. I think that is the primary. That's more important to me than anything else, because everything else is gonna fade out eventually. The only thing you have left is conversation. And so I think the beautiful thing about our relationship, when you talk about secret sauce, is the way that God set it up. We met in 2007. Married in 2011. We didn't move in together officially till 2014. And so it's 7 years of really a relationship of just getting to know each other. Because for those who don't know, when we first got married, you were still in dental school. I was a youth pastor. We were 2 states away. And so we just wanted to be married, and we just commuted a lot.
Yeah.
But I think it strengthened I really do think that actually strengthened our relationship, because all we did was talk all the time, all day, every day. While you're in labs, we're talking. While you're studying, we're talking. While I'm driving, we're talking. While I'm studying, we're talking. And so to me, I think that is primary, being able to communicate. And then learn new languages. I think, as you evolve as a couple, just through life, your expectations, your needs, all those things change as well. And so being able to, in a peaceful way, articulate, hey, this is where I am now. This is what I need now. This is my expectation. Because I think a lot of conflicts stem from unmet expectations, many of which were unspoken.
Yep.
Like, we never said that I needed this, and so now I'm holding you
accountable
for something that I never actually asked for. So, to me, that's been our glue.
But I feel like you hit on something that I did want to highlight. I think that many people talk about communication as a background or the backbone of a relationship. I don't think people talk enough about what you're communicating about. You talk about these unspoken expectations, and I can even say for a marriage of 14 years where we can count on one hand, maybe two, the number of arguments we've had. We did have to get to a point where we talked enough about the truth of where we were, and I think new levels of awareness to not just like go through the checklist, how the boys doing, what you got, but to really care about it, understand, what the other person is carrying. I think has been super huge for us to go forward in our marriage. And I can speak just to the women specifically, being able to truly be honest about where you are and what you need. And I would guess the same is true for men, because I do believe y'all hold a lot and carry a lot. Has just been, if we were at a 10, we went to a 20 because of our awareness and the truth of conversation and communication. You agree?
I 100% agree. I would say communicate often,
Fast.
fast, open, and then just learn the rhythm of how to have peaceful dialogue. Where it's not, you're not communicating out of frustration. But a lot of times, I really believe this. I believe this frustration stems because you've been holding on to this expectation, and now what could have been something that was talked about 6 months ago. Now I've stacked up all these receipts, and it's like you always. It's like, well, I didn't even know that was a thing, So, yeah, I just think that's primary, and it has helped us tremendously.
Okay, so we get this beautiful dynamic of that is somewhat different than some couples, but I do believe that it'll help for those that are kind of in the same scenario. We don't get to run to work or leave for a job and depart from each other. We actually have the beautiful privilege of pastoring a local church in Columbia, South Carolina together. We run several businesses together. We're partners in all regards as a CEO and a CFO in a lot of regards too. What would you say to I guess what makes that relationship in terms of having to serve together as pastors not difficult? Or if it is difficult, what would you say that?
No, I think we've grown even in that, and I think, again, not to continue to say the same thing, but yeah, I would think just communicating like expectations. I think another thing that comes to mind is respecting each other's strengths.
Wow. Wow.
I think that's just been very helpful for us as well, because our difference is you're more analytical, more I would say calculated, not in a negative way, but it's like, all right, okay, how is this going to get done? I think earlier on it was, okay, this probably can't get done because of such and such. Which was difficult for me, who is a dreamer and a visionary, who's just like all things faith, like God's going to pay for it. God's going to get it done. It's like, yeah, that sounds great, but how? So I just think over time, and I think victories and stones have helped that as well. But I think over time it shifted from.
Don't go too fast on the stones, because for those that don't understand what you mean.
Or stones in the Bible, many times whenever they won wars or won battles or God did a miracle, they would put stones out as a memorial of, hey, whenever we pass back through these waters or through this terrain, we can remember, man, this is where God did such and such. This is where God met. And a lot of times they would make not even just a memorial, but an altar. Or maybe they'll dig a well or something to mark the territory and mark the moment. I just think we've had so many victories that we've been able to like mark moments of, all right, okay, maybe he ain't crazy. Maybe this, like, yeah, this thing came out of nowhere. Like, this happened out of nothing. And I just think it's helped us grow. But vice versa, I think I've had to grow to really have an appreciation for your ability to budget and steward and help to not just get there, but stay there and be able to take things to another level. And so I just think that dynamic has shifted a lot in terms of the way we pastor, where it shifted from, I think early on, and we've had these early conversations. Sometimes because of your wiring, it would feel kind of suffocating to my dream. I'm just like, well, dang, man, it feels deflating because I come in the meeting so excited, and then I walk out like, darn, man, I just think over time we've evolved to where it's just like I don't feel like I'm going to war to try to prove something. I just think we've grown in our partnership to where it's like instead of how, it's like how. The how has changed. The how has changed from like how in terms of like I don't see it in terms of like no, let's figure it out. And that's where I think the partnership has come in at, and it's just grown us. Of like, if I do see something or think of something crazy, it's like, all right, well, clearly this guy, here's one. Let's figure out how we're gonna make it happen. And I just think that's helped me as a leader. But also, I think, like I said, I've also grown to appreciate just your ability to see through a different lens, to see, to poke holes and maybe see things, blind spots that I'm not seeing because I'm just ready to run.
I think that when you talk about the different bents or our makeups, it's so beautiful to be able to appreciate. I also think that kind of looking at those differences and understanding my role to you and your role to me, I now understand as a dreamer what is necessary to birth the dream. It's almost like carrying your child. I recognize that yes, you can plant the seed, but I have to nurture this seed that is being planted. And if you're not giving what I would call the right soil for even the seed to be planted, which is the dream or the vision, it can make it die before it ever even takes root, so to speak. And so what I have tried to do better is I'm going to get the soil right. And the soil right oftentimes is I am fully positive that we're going to birth something new this year because he's always with a new vision and something else to birth. And so I think now being aware of what's on the move and what's to come, I always try to be proactive. Okay, so I need to set money aside because he's going to have a $300,000 dream. He's going to have a $1 million dream. And so we're not in retrospect trying to get ready. We more than likely are already prepared for what is to come. And I think that has just been a huge shift for us. Just for the people that don't necessarily do it in a setting of like business, but they have to parent children together, they might not see eye to eye often. One thing that I can say that kind of takes it out of the scope of just church and work together that I think was helpful for you and I never really understood. You and I feel like over the last 2 or 3 years have taken the time to understand and be more honest and vulnerable about the weight of the call. Because it's easy to say like, I get the money together and the budget together, but I think that you leaned in to see how much work it takes to have that money in place and how much I have to go through and how many conversations and how much paperwork. And you give a lot of support and a lot of celebrating to the parts that I do. I think the same. And I do want you to speak to this as a role of the high priest of the home and a leader as the male of the home. The weight of being the man and having to make all the decisions. One of the things that I would say over the last 12 months where we have lived through so many hard transitions and just difficult choices that had to be made, many that were made by you, having to stand beside you, but to see your heart and to understand the weight of making those calls. It gave me a different appreciation and even I would say a greater support for you. And can you speak to like the weight of leading?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I had a meeting one time with two leaders in our church who were men as well. And one of the things that they said at this lunch meeting is that, through the years sometimes it seems like I'm callous and it just seems like it doesn't bother me. And what I was telling them is that as a leader, I don't have the privilege, the luxury of like bleeding on you. Like I can't do that. So like it's the QB who, ankle is jacked up. It's like we still got to win the game. Like I don't have the luxury of leaning on the running back. Like, oh God, I'm in pain.
Yeah,
no, I got to call the play. And so I think a part of that is, it makes it difficult because a lot of times the men deal with that even in their own homes. Like, I just have to make a call. I have to make a decision that may not be understood. And I think everyone wants to be understood. Everyone wants to know that, man, he's doing his best. And so, but I think whether you're a pastor, a business owner, or a father or dad, I just think having to shoulder the weight of, man, at the end of the day, it's on me. At the end of the day, and it should be. It is your place. Yeah, you got support, and your wife should be your partner, and all the things, But at the end of the day, it's on you. The survival of this, the joy in this, the security in this, it is on you as a man. I think that's just a part of it.
Is there a way as a man to invite the wife in to where she doesn't feel isolated, or you don't feel like the weight is by yourself?
That's a great question. I think
Have you done it better? Like, have you seen anything?
I think at times.
Okay.
I think at times. I think there's still. I think the word I'm looking for is discretion. There's a lot of discretion involved in it because of how fragile a woman is, and yet because of her makeup, because of her build. And I'm not trying to make universal blanket statements. There are some women who are, catchers in softball, and they could take a punch to the face and don't bother them.
All right.
So all women are different, but I think because of but for majority of women, the way that they're built and just the blessing of femininity, I think it is also your job as a male to protect them emotionally. And there's certain things that you can just recover from faster than a woman. So I think for me that's a very complicated question, because there are some times where it's just like I can completely like put that weight on you, but then sometimes I can just discern and sense that it'll be crushing, and so maybe take it to God, maybe take it to my pastor, maybe try to navigate through it, and just depending on what's going on in her world as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are moments where it's like, oh man, like, she's in a good place, she can handle, this, or help share the load. But I think there's other times where it's like she's like, I think it just takes some emotional intelligence to say, hey, this may not be a good time to dump this on her, and just not deal with it in an unhealthy way. And I think that's where a lot of men kind of get in trouble as well. But finding spiritual and just healthy ways to be able to navigate through the weight of it, because at the end of the day, it's just weighty. It's just,
Sure.
But I think the same for a woman. I think
100%.
life is just weighty, and so I've also found, and I think you have too, I know you have too, that sometimes the weight is heavier if my spiritual disciplines are off.
Come on.
And so learning how to offload some of that just in the presence of the Lord, and journal and pray and get a fresh perspective sometimes can also lessen just the unnecessary weight and baggage of life.
And I would say, just from the other side of just the responsibility of the man, the woman has a unique responsibility to carry a lot that oftentimes, and I can say I suffered in silence probably longer than I should have, because of all of the weights that I knew you as a man already had to carry. It can sometimes feel like, no, I gotta woman up, or I gotta hold this all together, or I have to figure this out because he already has enough going on. What I can say that is bridged the gap for us a lot is, even if I can't give you all of it, even with my spiritual disciplines, I have reconciled that I go into God to come out better. And better sometimes means that the Lord in that time with him has said, share this part with him. But to your point, the spiritual acumen and the emotional intelligence to know what is to be shared, what is to be kept, what is to be prayed through, what is not to nag about. And you just write in your journal to watch the Lord do what only he can. And so I think there is a lot of walking by faith and being spirit led in regard to how you shoulder each other in circumstances like that, in terms of how you have to lead from the male to the female. So yeah, I love that. I want to talk about finances in terms of how it affects the marriage. 20 to 40% of marriages, it's one of the top 3 reasons why people get divorced outside of being incompatible. And the other one being, I can't even remember.
Probably adultery.
It's adultery. Yep. The other one being adultery. What would you say to a marriage that's currently on the rocks? Like, we're strapped for cash. I feel like we're in a mismatch in how we spend, maybe even our perspective about spending versus saving and different things like that. How do you think we could be a voice to help rescue maybe a marriage that's in trouble financially?
That's great. I'm gonna kind of take a side street to it.
Okay.
My approach to ministry and life, and it's why I'm very particular about who's in my circle. I'm very particular about who I have lead worship, and who, especially who tour with me. I'm like, purity is like very important to me, and not perfection, purity, and that's a hard thing, right?
Wow.
So I'm not talking about slip ups, but I am talking about deception. I have zero tolerance for deception, and the reason why is because I believe that what we are offering to God, like what we're giving Him, is an offering. It would be the same as like taking money out the plate, or like putting blood money, you know what I mean? Like I killed somebody to get this money and I'm gonna put it in the offering. Like it is tainted.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm just very particular about even more that than any other. And I know people be like, well, it matters too who work in the parking lot and stuff, or who doing this. And yeah, that is true. All things matter because all life is worship. But specifically on a stage, you are ushering people into the throne. Like you're taking them before God.
Sure.
Like as a priest. Like that is just, even in the Bible day, a farmer can get away with stuff way more than a priest. You was a dead man. Like it is very important how you steward and take care of what you're presenting to God. And I say that to say that all of life is like this offering. All of life is worship. Paul says, present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is a reasonable act of worship as your service. And so I think when I take that in, even my message prep and my preaching and my singing and my songwriting, and my thought always, the fundamental thought in everything that I'm doing is do all things as unto the Lord. Like this is a gift to God. And the reason why I wanted to kind of use that as my bed for this marriage thing, because I think if you look at categories and silo, then you really take out of it the whole purpose of it all.
That's
and
good.
like when you look at finances, like it is a way to all of it, just like I'm saying with worship and with living and lifestyle and stuff is an offering to God. Everything, all of these different things is a way to demonstrate love. It's an act of worship. It is an act of service to my spouse. So we can't be on two different pages with money. You can't be wanting to save for the kids to get school shoes, and I'm out here and just like, well, I just got to get Madden. Like that is it is taking away from like this offering I'm supposed to be giving collectively, like to God. Like when we stood at the altar in marriage, at our wedding, we were saying, God bless this. We want to give this to you. And I think majority of marriages fail because they forget that union is an offering.
Sure.
So I just separated and segregated all and just like, well, it's my money, it's my this, it's my this. No, it's collectively we're giving God something. And so
Hey there, I want to invite you to Girls Night. Every first Tuesday of the month, we come together, we have a whole bunch of fun. We're able to talk about so many things from the podcast, and we even have special guests. It's so many amazing things that happen each time. I want you to join me. When you get the link, I need you to share it with a friend and join me every first Tuesday for Girls Night. Can't wait to see you there.
And so I think just having that approach, whether it's money, whether it's conversations, whether it's intimacy, whether it's raising our kids, like it ain't just about me. Like this is an offering. We often say you don't give to a church, you give through a church. And I think it's the same thing with marriage in that like I'm honoring God and worshiping God by the way I'm doing this with my spouse. And I think when we look at it like that and understand that it's something that we're presenting to God, I think that'll change the game a lot for marriages.
I love that you gave the basis for the why for marriage as a whole, because I think without that bedding, you can get very lost in just doing the specifics of what I want. I think that when you think about Ephesians 5 and it talks about how the husband is supposed to love his wife as God gave himself for her. Every time you see love very often talked about in scripture, gave or the giving or sacrifice or being serving of the other is present with it. And I think that we often feel like in marriage or in life in general, we get to dictate what love is based on cultural norms of what they call love. Love is flowers and roses and when I feel good. That's not at all what the prototype or the picture of what Jesus showed us love to be. Same with respect, because in that same passage talks about how we're to respect the husband in terms of honoring him and speaking well of him and believing the best. All of these things are modeled. I think about very often, you talk about like do it as unto the Lord. I'm always asking like the WWJD, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus say about Travis in this situation? What would Jesus say about our marriage right now as it pertains to us having a hardship financially? I think even the recognition that we're having a hard time financially, not he's having a hard time, she's having a hard time. I also would say to any person that is struggling financially, what have you offered the Lord to bless? Number one, do y'all tithe? Both of you. Do you all have your finances combined? Because it is a leave and cleave. It is the two shall become one flesh. And oftentimes we are denying the blessing and the wind of God because we won't do it his way, because we've decided that we know better than him. And so I just think that it was so paramount to go back to the truth of what he said about how marriage is instituted and what it's supposed to be. You are to be able to come one and join together, and it was a joining together forever. Many times I do believe people are afraid to put all their money together, go all in, because they are afraid, even when they step into something that's supposed to be forever, that it'll be for a moment, if that makes sense.
Oh no, that makes perfect sense. I think earlier what I love how you kind of wrapped it up, because I was hoping people were able to follow. I think what I'm ultimately trying to say is take the offering seriously.
Wow.
Like don't be casual what you're presenting to God. Like take it very serious. Like this matters is unto God. As it pertains to combined finances, I think sometimes it is easier said than done.
Sure.
When there is someone in the party who is just stubborn and selfish. And I think that's another thing. Like both need to be able to lean into, hey, this is our goal. Like what are we trying? And maybe backtrack a little bit. Get on the same page, not just about saving or about you spend too much or about this and that. Because no one wants to be, mom or pop, when it comes to marriage. But at the same time, I think, and I love, this is how you helped our finances grow. Instead of just making it about, oh man, you overspend, or oh man, our DoorDash bill is so high, which, you did say that stuff. But ultimately though, I think what helped was you gave a target. And it was like, hey, let's make a goal, and then our commitment became to that goal. And what's funny, just full scope about our story, is that originally I was the finance guy.
It's true.
So, when we first started, because I had been independent, living on my own for a while, and so I was, you went straight from college to another college, from Georgia Southern to mom's house, in grad school. So, but I had been. Shoot, by the time we were married, I had been living on my own I had graduated undergrad 6 years ago. So for 6 years, I've been living on my own. So, or 5 years. I think we got married when I was 27 or something. I don't remember. Anyway, the thing is, I was 27. But the thing is, like, originally I was like, save, but I had gone through being broke. So I was like, yo, we ain't going back there now. We're gonna live, we're gonna act our wage, we're gonna live on a budget and this and that. And then as our finances started growing, I just saw you were a lot better at counting and a lot better at helping it to grow. But I think getting on the same page is like, man, what are we trying to accomplish? That helped us tremendously. And very practically, like questions like, how many vacations do we want to take? And I think that helps your relationship, so you're not just out here just randomly. It's like, I love what we did. We started this maybe like 5 years ago. I mean, you were the initiator of it, but it was like instead of trying to figure out during the year what we're gonna do, like let's prioritize our family. It's one thing to say my family is priority, but they're only priority when they're prioritized. So it's like let's prioritize our family,
and you're only priority when they are prioritized.
Yeah, so let's look at the calendar year. And then instead of trying to fit us in to our world, because our world is ever evolving, it's growing and it's full and it's fast, we're going to fit our world. And that includes church. That includes touring. That includes book releases. That includes music. That includes everything. Fit our world around our family schedule. So we haven't been perfect at it. I mean, there's been multiple family vacations that I've had to go and shoot a music video or go in the basement of whatever house we're renting and work on an album. I mean, countless times. But, just the way that the calendar felt. But we still was like, no, this is.
We had an intention.
We had an
goal.
intention. We had a goal, and then we did the same thing, not just with our calendar, but we did the same thing with our bank accounts. It's like, hey, we want to have a goal. We want to be able to save this amount. We want to be able to invest this amount. We want to be able to live this way or drive this. And what is it going to take to get there? Not just living and hoping and spinning around 3 times, hoping that we're going to be able to afford what we want. But no, this is going to take an intentional plan. It's going to take practice and discipline in order to build that. And I think, I think a lot of people just don't have a goal and a shared goal. Like, hey, if we're content right here and if we're content check to check and living what we're living and having what we have, then cool. We'll just keep, being casual with our money. But it's like, now if we want to do something else, then man, this is what it's going to take to do that. This is the down payment it's going to take for that. This is the credit score it's going to take that. This is the whatever. And so I'm not just randomly doing stuff, but I'm able to build, and then that informs the decisions we make. The purchases we make, some things are just not out of timing. But I think go. I would tell people who are struggling in finance, instead of just arguing about your spending habits, set a goal, and then both of you guys submit to that, and you just see you see a tremendous difference.
No, I think that's huge. So would you say, because I don't want to leave, I guess it speaks to the single and the married, that you, just from your bent or from your perspective as a male, there is a single woman watching, or a woman that is newly married, her husband isn't at a certain level of pay, and it's spoken about that the husband is supposed to be a provider. Do you view that there has to be a certain standard of you shouldn't marry a man if they don't have this certain amount of money, or what's your perspective on that?
That's a great question. I feel like it is such a common discussion, and there's so many opinions about it. And if I'm honest, I'm kind of mixed on it.
Okay.
I think my lean, based off of my own story, is don't discount somebody because they don't have 6 figures or they don't have a certain amount in their bank account. I don't think that's smart. And I also think a lot of people would say that if they're honest, when they got married, they didn't have that. So that just make you hypocritical. Most people didn't when they got married. And so, and I was far from it. At the same time, I do think there's something to be said about, I don't think you should ignore signs.
Okay.
And that's why I say I'm mixed on it. I think there are some signs about discipline, work ethic. What are you willing to do? Not necessarily, I don't know, for me personally, and everybody have their own bent, so this is not biblical or anything. I just think it's kind of vain to only desire someone in a certain package, right? So like, my love for you, it was funny. Like, I fell in love with you without any, like, it had no strings attached to it. You were 19, when we got serious, you were probably 21, 2021. Like, I didn't even know how much dentists could make. And when you're like, I want to be a dentist, it was like, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't even know anything about it. So it wasn't based off of, oh man, our money together gonna do whatever. I just think that's vain, personally. So I just think if you love someone, speaking as a male, whether he is a manager at, Burger King, or whether he is a, guy on Wall Street making 6 figures, I just think it's kind of silly to try to calculate his worth based off of how much he makes, because he's probably going to actually be more faithful, like if with a humble background, and someone who's just prideful and feel like, oh, I could just have anybody, I could just do whatever. And I also just think it's powerful to build together. That is I'm a champion of that. Like, just because someone starts somewhere doesn't mean they're going to finish there.
Right.
And I just think building together, dreaming together, I just think that makes your relationship that much stronger. It gives it a way stronger foundation than, oh, we both just rock stars that just happen to meet up. Not saying that God can't bless that, and He has, and I've seen that make magic as well. But for me, I'm just old school grassroots. Like, man, let's get in this together, and build and just see what God can do. But I just don't think money's everything. I think it's a small thing. But the other thing I just want to make sure that was heard is that the don't ignore like work ethic, because you could not have a lot and have the ability to have more and just be lazy, and don't marry lazy, because then you're always gonna have to carry them.
Yeah.
On both ends.
Proverbs talk about it.
Yeah, don't marry lazy, man. And for me, I don't like. I'm cool because for years you didn't necessarily work. Before after our kids got a little, more independent, where you were able to really jump into ministry at the church. But for me, it wasn't like about you having a 9 to 5, or you like, none of that stuff ever moved me. If you never made a dime, that don't move me, because you have passion. And I just couldn't be married to somebody who lacked passion. That I know that I would drive them crazy, and vice versa. So that was always, even back then, I remember, 18 years ago, that was one of the first questions, like, yo, what are you passionate about? Like, I would always ask any girl that, like,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, oh, no, I'm just chill. We out of there.
I think when I think of that question, in terms of like a certain amount, and maybe a wife is on here and she's like, man, I just want my husband to make more, or there's a single woman trying to figure it out. I think it's very important to look at provision collectively, because I don't think provision is simply financial.
Right.
There are so many husbands that bring home a big paycheck that provide nothing for that family other than that paycheck.
Right.
And I think that if you single, or you limit his provision to only being what he can bring into that house with a financial dollar attached, you could get that and miss a spiritual leader of your home that provides spiritual insight and ways for you to grow, and example for your children. I just think that to the point of what you were making, you limit God and his will for that couple and that union coming together, because there might be a husband that might be disabled, that maybe not, he cannot go out and be the breadwinner, but what he is for the stability of that family and the call for that family in the earth. You would be silly to minimize it to just what culture says has to be true. You think about people in other countries, they don't earn at the same level, and so many different things. So I just think it's not a universal truth. And so I think that it just needs to be said that a husband is much more than what his dollar amount is from what he earns in a business. And he can just provide in so many other ways. And my prayer, one of the things that I've been grateful for, is that you didn't just bring me a nice ring, or you didn't just give me all the stuff. You gave me you. You gave me your integrity. You gave me your time, your attention. You gave me your eyes. Like, all of those things provide safety for me. It provides wellness, wholeness, health. And I have just seen the opposite be so true in so many other ways. And so I would pray that women do appreciate all that they bring. And I would say the same to be true. I love that you bring up the reality that I didn't work for a long time, not in a business setting, but I worked in our home. I supported every dream. I was a backbone for a lot of things being able to take off.
For sure.
And I'm grateful for that service to our family. And so with that being said, if I had been equated to only what I brought in financially, you would have said I didn't have any value, but that was not, in alignment with what the Lord would have said. So
yeah, and I think also what was amazing is that, I was just thinking when you were saying that, like, that you lived it. You know what I mean? Like, you come from, money. You come from a small town, but you guys were affluent. And I think even you've never, ever, ever in, almost 2 decades, ever looked down on me for what I could not provide financially. You never compared me to the finances of your biological father, or the finances of your mother. You never compared me to, well, I'm used to, if you ain't driving this, or you ain't living, all of that. I think it does help that you were from small town, humble beginnings, predominantly living with your grandma in your grandma's house, which wasn't fancy, it was a normal grandma house. So I think that helped, but at the same time, you could have easily, talking about somebody who from the age 12 to giving $1,000, I mean,
why you gotta put my business out?
No, because I just want to paint the picture of, like, you could have easily brought, like, bougie, to a relationship and been like, well, I'm used to being taken care of. I'm used to getting my nails done. I'm used to, getting the car I want, and I'm used to getting this and going on a shopping spree. Like, that was never, ever your posture. Like, never. And because literally when we got married, it was check to check. I wasn't dead, bro. When we were dating, I was dead, bro. dead broke. But when I proposed to you, I was dead broke. And then when we're married, you know, I started climbing a little bit just in that year. Started getting a little more. I had a steady job. But it wasn't nothing. It was never going on a shopping spree. That was never happening. We were looking at the menu prices, you know what I mean, and counting like, can we afford what we eating today? You know, we want to share. We would share meals, like for real, like not hypothetically. We're going to Applebee's, sharing fries. Like, what we getting? Let's get this. We're gonna get this appetizer. Like, I mean, literally, like, and thinking of those times. I mean, till the day make me emotional. Walking through the mall this past Christmas with my son in Charlotte, and the idea that I can buy him what he wants. And I remember being in the same mall with you and not being able to buy anything. Like, I remember that.
Dreaming.
Yeah, and just like, man, one day, babe, we're gonna be able to one day. And I just think it's important to say that. It's one thing if like you was broke your whole life and then you married somebody who was broke. I think it's another thing that you were not and you married someone. Although I wasn't broke, I don't come from the hood. I'm not about to claim like I'm, you know, none of that stuff. I'm a military brat. So I came from, you know, I guess you could say a well-to-do background. But in my adulthood, figuring it out, I had nothing. Started from the bottom. From the gutter, from the mud, and built. But your belief in me, and I just think maybe a spouse needs to hear that. Like, your belief in me gave me wind to really like try and go after, and I didn't have to compete with like the pressure of like, oh, I know if I come home and this don't work out, my wife gonna be like, you went and did all those shows, this all you made? You worked on this album, this is all you sold? Like, you stood there and like was proud that we were selling 20 records like at a concert. Like, man, we sold 20 albums tonight, that's $200. Like, and like it was never you never ever looked down on me, ever. Like, even the disagreements or whatever we've ever had through the years, there was never ever an argument where it's like, bro, you ain't got nothing, or I could do better at mom's girl. That was never a thing. And I think that a lot of couples, they don't know the power in belief, and a man specifically not being believed in. Now, I'm not saying somebody out here just starting a t-shirt company every other weekend, but I am saying, like, you know, the power of being believed in does go a long way. And it did for me. But I think you also knew that I wasn't lazy. You knew I had vision. You knew I worked really, really hard. And I think I gave you something also to believe in. But you didn't have to. And I think, you know, for a woman out there that maybe come from something and just like, I ain't about to, you know, you don't know what you could be missing out on. You know?
I think that's so true. And when I think about the times where we were doing dollar movie sharing, you know, food or in all the things you named, I feel as taken care of then as I do right now. And that has nothing to do with what you were able to provide financially. It has everything to do with looking at the collective perspective of all that you bring. And I feel as covered. I feel as healthy. I feel as seen as I do now. And I feel like it was the foundation for the beauty of what we get to live in terms of more financial blessing now. We always counted it good at every level. We counted it all joy.
We're so excited.
Listen,
every little thing we had.
Grateful.
I was right before we wrap up finance. I ran into dear future wifey in airport a few days ago.
His name's Latarius.
Latarius Whitfield. A lot of people know him, but dear future wifey. I was in an airport, and he said something very profound. He said when he talked to singles sometimes. And we talked for like an hour, but this is one of the things he said. He said he often asked him about the finance thing, like 10 years ago, or I guess, let's just say 15 years ago. 15 years ago, would you marry Travis based off of his like account, what he had? And he said most people answer would be no. And he says his response is, then you miss out on 41-year-old Travis. And I just think that needs to be said and heard too, that sometimes you don't know the future. You just don't know. And, you know, all of these, especially in 2025, all these, you got to be making 6 figures. Well, you wouldn't have. You would miss out on a lot. You know what I mean? Not being boastful or nothing. But you really fumbled the bag based off of discounting something in seed form. And so I think that's a powerful thing too. Like, don't think that what you see is all there is.
Yeah, but I also say, and I know it's just still really heavy on me, it wasn't even just the hope of what you could bring later. What you brought then was enough too.
Yeah.
And I really want to take people out of the vain desire for so much possession, because the whole, like, you are a wholesome, integral guy.
But I was a seed.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
were a
thing.
seed.
And
You
so
did still have much more.
What I'm saying
to
is that
blossom into.
people discount the seed.
They
is what
do.
I'm
They
saying.
do. But and I'm just saying, in seed form, you are a lot to me. And I think that had everything to do with the belief you felt. Because a lot of times women can see that they're in seed form. They only are hoping for the blossom version. I wasn't hoping for the blossom version. I love the seed form too. I want both to be
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
seen well,
That's
if that
great.
makes sense.
No, that's
because
great.
you provided so much.
That's great.
So
I get that.
yeah. I ask all my people that come on, like, because I really always want to hear the heart of where God has the person. What have you been given permission to do in this particular season?
I don't want to give a cheesy or cheap answer.
Please don't.
But I ain't permission to just be.
Okay.
You
What
know,
does that look like for you?
I think it's honest about my presence. Honest about my present. I think it's honest about my wounds. I think it's enthusiastic about like my future. It's all there together, right? And just like I think that's what makes what I do both musically and in ministry special. I think one of the things that make it special is that I'm 100% true to who I am right then.
Ooh.
So I'm not writing a song based off of like, oh man, I'm just hoping this does well. Or I never got into the industry game. It's always been about what do I feel right now?
You said you never got into it. Was that hard to never get into it? Because I don't want somebody that's a musician hearing you that might be bad.
Well, never is a big word.
Okay.
I've created songs. It'll be a lie to say I never wrote a song for radio. Won't Let Go was a radio song. It wasn't even on my album. They said they needed a radio song because there wasn't one on that particular album. So I wrote Won't Let Go. So I always have to be honest. So what I'm saying is that I never what I have never done was get in copycat form. I never checked GPT my career ever.
Okay.
It was never like, oh, this is working, so I need to do this, or oh man, people got guitars now, so I need to get one, or oh man, people got their hair color, so I need to do that. And it's nothing wrong with being inspired. I'm just saying that was never my bent. It was always like, what do I feel right now? Like, and whether it's for the masters or whether it's bless a few, this is what I feel right now. When I'm writing songs for a church, it's what I feel like our church should sing. I'm not thinking about churches and, wherever, Afghanistan or Australia. I'm thinking about churches. I'm thinking about Two Notch and those where I am. And so I think I have permission just to do that. Like to be 41-year-old, still figuring it out, Travis, that sometimes, some days I'm like, feel like I run through a wall. Some days, especially Mondays, I feel like trash. And just like, I just feel like trash today. I preached twice. And so I'm just going to sit down here and be 21. I'm just going to play Xbox. Let my little brother come over here and talk. He's the only person in Colombia that can talk to me like that. So let him come over here and just call me out my name and just be regular. And thank God for that. Like literally, I did that this past Monday. And then on Tuesday, like I literally just prayed like, man, thank God I could just literally just be Trav, like ain't nothing, just regular. So I feel like more and more I'm gaining permission just to like be like, who are you right now? And let that be enough. And whatever comes out of that, whatever message, whatever song, whatever dream comes out of that, give that as my now offering.
I feel like watching you live out that permission to be has been so evident in probably this last year and a half of our life. And it has been, I don't even know if inspirational is the right word. It's been drawing. Like I feel like it has called me closer in intimacy to you. To not just know my husband with the cape on, but to also see you without it. To see you hurt, to see you cry, to see you excited like a new artist about a new album that you're stepping into, or to get on the stage and preach the walls down, but also sometimes go off the stage like, I don't know if they're connected. I love all those facets and your honesty and vulnerability to be in it fully. And it has also, to me, leaned me into what I would say that the Lord has given me permission to do in this season, which is to be dependent. In this particular season, I feel like the Lord has demanded new levels of me giving up on how I would do it on my own. I recently just recovered a broken foot, and just so many things that I had looked to be my cornerstones or my places of strength or my places of comfortability. Watching you step into a lot of stuff that you just like, no, just go try it. Why not? You always have that to you, and have faced what came with it. Like, oh, that hit, that slapped, oh, that didn't really go well. But not being afraid to try. I do feel like I see it so present in my, what I would call hard dependency, because it's been hard to break out of relying on me so much, if that makes sense. Like, Daddy, I don't want to roll around or be in a boot. I don't want to lose these friends or have these friendships redefined. I don't want to have to look for this new team or, step back into whatever, all the things. But he wanted it. And if he wanted it on purpose, And so
That's great.
Thank you for all of that. Like, thank you for all of the things that you lived out that have helped me live out my permission better, What we'll wrap up with is we recently announced that Permission 2026 is back at Engage Culture, and so excited about it. So excited about the guests that are coming and being able to step back into that place. But you were with me through the hard decision to not do it in 2025 and all of the relational stuff that came along with why we didn't do it. What would you say, just as a final cap, for any man out there that is currently or may have to stand with their wife in a hard time of transition or change? What would you say that helped me, so to speak, in that time?
I think I think a lot of pressure is pressure that we just put on ourselves. And I like that sometimes we could just look at each other and say, it's who?
Ooh.
Like, who said,
Who's the boss?
like, who says you got to do it? Who says you can't cancel? Who says you can't recover? Who says you can't get healthy? Who says you can't breathe? Who says, this can't be a seed for something in the future? Like, I think especially in today's time, this generation is so results driven and immediate results.
Yeah.
It's like, if it ain't now, then it ain't. And
throw it away.
Then throw it away. I recently had a conversation with our brother Norman, and he said something that was so profound. And it was just like, some things just take time, and you have to be okay with that. And you have to be okay with that maybe it's not an immediate result. And then he just started running down things that took forever. Gratitude took 18 months for anybody to ever sing it. Brandon Lake wanted to cut it from the record, and they told him he couldn't. He didn't like the song. He just like, this is not a good song.
Wow.
And JJ was like, no, we're not cutting it. I actually like it. And no one sung it until it was on a children's special. And then it caught like wildfire. 18 months later, a year and a half later, Gratitude.
Wow, that's crazy. It's one of my favorite songs.
Arguably the greatest worship song in the past decade. I mean, it was that massive. Coming in hot 18 months. Frank Forrest, is that name Frank?
Forrest Frank.
Forrest Frank, yeah.
Frank Forrest is crazy.
Forrest Frank, I mean, he's the largest artist, a global Christian artist in the world right now. And same thing, like, he just making records that nobody was paying attention. He did a pop-up thing in the park with headphones, and it caught like fire. I'm gonna have a good day. And this is years after just making music at home. I just think I think there's so much freedom in knowing that it doesn't have to be now. Who says it has to be now? And who says that the results have to be immediate? And I think that's the beautiful thing, even about permission. Like, who said the conference? Who says that it has to be now? Who says that it has to be immediate? Who says that it can't be a break? Who says that it can't be a longer runway? Who's like, it's God that makes the rules, and just leaning into that and not being so, like, not slipping into a snare to compare it with social media. Like, well, everybody else doing conferences, this person didn't take off. And like, man, who knows what it cost them to do that, so the long game.
I feel like even when you were talking, it reminded me of the thing about you that always helps me is you always bring me back to my center of why. Like, why? How did it start from the beginning? What was this all about? And you break me out of the box of, I think people worldly expectation. Very often as a recovered perfectionist, it's very easy to like, well, everybody expected, or I gotta. And the says who always takes me back to, why did I ever do a conference? And it's the reason why I brought it back this year. It was all about God said so now. He gave me a word for now. And that's one of the biggest things that I think the Greene family stands on. When we have a word, you have a dangerous weapon for us because we fight tooth and nail to make sure that word is brought to life. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to reveal what conference will be all about and excited for you all to come. And so grab your tickets. They're on sale now. Permission 2026 is back. And thank you for being with me.
Love you, proud of you.
This is special. This is really special. And I think that many people will be blessed. Many marriages will go back to the center of understanding that Jesus is our real example as it pertains to respect and finances and even honoring each other. I think so often we look to social media and other people's marriages and even our upbringing of our family of origin as to how we're supposed to do life in marriage and even singleness that prepares us for marriage. I would say getting time back in the face of the Lord to find out what he says about your specific marriage has everything to do with a healthy, successful marriage. So a godly marriage, which is what we're looking for. So thank you for this. Guys, this has been an amazing episode. I'm so grateful to have had the time to share with my best friend and with you. I pray that you like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. But more than anything, really take something and truly be transformed by it, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Love y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I pray that something blessed your life, and I want you to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on anything that's happening in Permission. Share it with a friend and join us back here for the next podcast. Love you.
I want everything he has for me.